Welcome to this video on the Bankruptcy Court, Eastern District of California's Mandatory Form Certificate of Service. See Local Bankruptcy Rule 7005-1 and EDC Form 7-005. This is the seventh in a series of video presentations summarizing the mandatory use of a standardized certificate of service, EDC Form 7-005. The focus of this video is Section 6B of EDC Form 7-005. Why Section 6 of EDC Form 7-005 is necessary. Section 6 is the portion of the standardized certificate of service that 1. Specifically identifies the creditors served. For example, Section 6A1 and Attachment 6A1 are actually being served, and 2. Describes the manner in which service is accomplished. For example, Federal Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure Rule 7004 service, or Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 5 service, including e-service under Rule 9036, service on registered users of the court's electronic filing system. Section 6B of EDC Form 7-005 is the place where notice other than under Rule 7004 service is memorialized. In most cases, that will mean service will be by U.S. mail. Section 6B has two subparts. 1. Section 6B1, Notice by U.S. mail, and 2. Section 6B2, Other Methods of Service. Significant changes to Section 6B of the Certificate of Service since the prior version of EDC Form 7-005. Section 6B is the area of the standardized certificate of service where the greatest change has occurred since the last version of the certificate of service. There are two very major changes. First, under the authority of Federal Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure 9036, it is no longer necessary 1. To notice as required by Rule 5 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, attorneys of record or trustees, or 2. To show attorneys of record or trustees on the certificate of service. Why? Because the notice of electronic filing, which is generated by the clerk of the court, now constitutes Rule 5 notice to attorneys and trustees. See Federal Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure 9036 and Local Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure 9036-1. Rule 5 notice and a certificate of service providing that notice has been given to parties is only required where notice is required on the debtor and or creditors. The standardized certificate of service makes this clear. The highlighted tan portion of example number 1 indicates that all registered users are deemed noticed by the notice of electronic filing generated by the clerk of the court, and that no further Rule 5 notice is required, nor is it required to list those persons on the certificate of service. Second, under the authority of Federal Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure 2018 and Local Bankruptcy Rule 2018-1, it is unnecessary 1. To notice any person, whether an attorney or an unrepresented person, requesting special notice, or 2, to show that person on the certificate of service. Why? Because all persons requesting special notice do so by portal on the court's website and are deemed to have consent to e-notice under Federal Rule of Bankruptcy Procedure 9036. The notice of electronic filing, which is generated by the clerk of the court, now constitutes Rule 5 notice to persons requesting notice. In summary, Rule 9036 has shifted the burden of Rule 5 notice on attorneys, trustees, and persons requesting notice from the parties to the clerk of the court. This is a radical departure from past practice and will result in increased accuracy in noticing and produce enormous savings of time and money for the bar and the trustees. How to complete Section 6 of EDC Form 7-005. Section 6B2, Notice by U.S. Mails. The majority of noticing under Rule 5 will be memorialized under Section 6B1. Whenever box 6B1 is checked, it is incumbent to append attachment 6B1, 6B2, or 6B3 to the certificate of service. When attachment 6B1 is used, unless there are 6 or fewer creditors receiving notice, or the person to be noticed is not on the official matrix, for example, a stalking horse bidder who has requested notice, attachment 6B1 must be the clerk of the court's official matrix of creditors. It may be printed in a 3-column that is label compatible format, or in raw data format. That matrix can be downloaded from CMECF and is the subject of separate videos. Do note, the list of creditors must be downloaded within 7 days of service. Lists downloaded 8 or more days prior to service are stale and do not provide a reliable list of persons entitled to notice. Section 6B4, Other Methods of Service. Section 6B2 of EDC Form 7-005 is a catch-all to accommodate other methods of Rule 5 service and notice. It should be used rarely, if at all. It is designed to memorialize personal service under Rule 5 or service by leaving the document at the person's place of business, etc. If this box is checked, you must append attachment 6B4, which will be a custom list of those persons whom have been given notice in this fashion.